You think she's forgotten you, but she hasn't. And the painful irony is, the more you chase, the faster she does. Let that land for a second. You've been showing up every day, double texting, checking her profile at midnight, replying within seconds, like you've been sitting there with your phone in your hand waiting because you have been. And somewhere deep in the back of your mind, you genuinely believe that if you just stay visible enough, present enough, available enough, she'll finally see it. She'll finally feel it. She'll finally choose you. But here's what's actually happening. Every time you reach out from that place, that anxious, desperate, need her to respond place, you are training her nervous system to see you as background noise, not a man. Background noise. And background noise doesn't make anyone feel anything. If this is hitting you somewhere real right now, if you're watching this at 1 a.m., replaying a conversation in your head trying to figure out where it went wrong, stay with me. Subscribe right now. Not for me, for you. Because what I'm about to walk you through is the kind of clarity that nobody in your life is going to give you. Your friends will say, just move on. Your family will say, there are other girls. And everyone will tell you what you want to hear because they love you and they don't want to watch you suffer. But love, why chasing lowers? Attraction without truth is just comfort. And comfort right now is the thing that's keeping you stuck. This channel exists to give you the truth. Subscribe, turn on notifications, and come back every time you feel yourself slipping, because you will feel yourself slipping, and you're going to need this. Now, here's what it really means when you disappear. Not what the internet tells you, not the game-playing version, not the manipulation strategy version, the real version, the version that actually changes a man from the inside out. When you disappear, genuinely disappear, not as a tactic, not as a test, but as a natural consequence of finally choosing yourself, something shifts in her, in you, in the entire dynamic. And to understand why, you first have to understand the misconception that's been running your behavior this whole time. The misconception is this: you believe that presence equals value. You believe that the more she sees you, the more she will want you. You believe that availability communicates love, and love shown clearly, shown often, shown desperately if necessary, will eventually be enough. That is a beautiful belief. It is also completely wrong. Not wrong because love doesn't matter. It does. But wrong because you have confused love with anxiety. You have confused pursuit with devotion, and you have confused her attention with your worth. That's not love. That's a transaction you're running in your own head, and she can feel the transaction even when she can't name it. Here's the hard truth. Attraction is not generated by how much you want someone. Attraction is generated by how much you want yourself. And right now, the version of you who is checking his phone every 11 minutes, the version of you who rehearses what he's going to say before he sends it, the version of you who shapes his entire emotional state around whether or not she replied, that version, the psychology of curiosity of you, does not want himself. That version of you has handed the controls of his own internal world to a woman who didn't ask for them and doesn't know what to do with them. And she can feel that weight every single time. Here's why it happens: because nobody taught you this. You grew up watching men chase women in movies and call it romance. You watched the grand gesture work. You watched persistence get rewarded. You watched the man who never gave up finally get the girl in the last scene. And you took notes. Of course you did. What else were you supposed to do? You learned that love requires sacrifice, and sacrifice means putting yourself second. And putting yourself second means she'll eventually put you first. That's the story you were handed. And it has cost you more than you know. Because here's what that story actually costs. It costs you your identity. When you organize your entire inner life around her response, you stop being a man with a direction. You stop being a man with interests. You stop having opinions that exist outside of what might impress her. You stop growing. You stop building. You stop living. You become a satellite orbiting someone else's planet. And satellites don't have gravity. Satellites don't pull anything toward them. They just circle. And eventually, they fall. It costs you her respect, not because she's cruel, but because respect is an involuntary response to perceived strength. And she cannot force herself to respect someone who visibly needs her approval more than he needs his own. That's not a character flaw in her. That's biology. That's millions of years of human wiring that no amount of modern conversation is going to undo. She doesn't respect the chase. She responds to the man who doesn't need to chase. It costs you time, real time, irreplaceable time. The weeks you spent waiting, the months you spent analyzing the year, maybe more that you invested in a story that was never going to end the way you wrote it in your head. And every day you stayed in that story was a day you didn't spend building the version of yourself that doesn't need a woman to emotional space and reflection complete him because he's already whole. Now, here's the reframe. Disappearing, real disappearing, is not a strategy. Let me be very clear about this. If you're going silent because you calculated that silence will make her text you, that is still anxiety. That is still the transaction. You are just running the same program on a delay. Real disappearance is not about her at all. Real disappearance is the moment you decide with full clarity, full ownership, full weight of the decision that you are no longer available to wait, that you are no longer going to organize your days around someone who hasn't chosen you, that the life you're supposed to be building will not be paused for anyone who hasn't committed to being in it. That decision does not feel like a strategy. It feels like grief. It feels like loss. It feels like closing a door you desperately wanted someone to walk through. And that grief is real, and you should let yourself feel it fully without rushing it. But on the other side of that grief is something most men never find because they never let themselves stay in the dark long enough to reach it. On the other side is yourself. Let me describe the man who has been through this because you need to see him clearly, not as an ideal, not as a fantasy, as a direction. This man woke up one morning and made a decision. Not a dramatic one, not a loud one, a quiet one. He decided he was done negotiating his own value. He stopped explaining himself to people who weren't listening. He stopped performing strength and started practicing it. He built a morning routine not to impress anyone, but because structure is what a disciplined mind runs on, and he wanted a disciplined mind. He called the friend he'd been neglecting. He went back to the gym, not to get her back, not to post a photo, but because his body is his and he had been abandoning it. He picked up the book he'd been meaning to read for 2 years. He started the project. He made the call. He sent the application. He stopped narrating his life to an absent audience and started living it. And something happened. Not immediately, not in a way he could track. When regret starts building on a calendar, but slowly the weight of that anxiety began to lift. Not because she texted back. Maybe she did, maybe she didn't. And the extraordinary thing is, he stopped organizing his recovery around that outcome. The weight lifted because he remembered who he was before she became the center of his world. He remembered that he had a center and it was his. That man carries himself differently. You can see it before he says a word. He takes up space without apology. He doesn't scan a room for validation. He doesn't adjust himself based on who's watching. He knows what he thinks and he says it without softening it into something everyone will approve of. He has standards, not rules he recites, but actual standards that he's willing to lose things over. He's lost things over them, and he doesn't regret it. That man is not cold. That's the thing people get wrong about this. He's not distant. He's not unavailable. When he's present, he's fully present, warm, engaged, real. But his presence is a choice, not a plea. And there is a difference so vast between those two things that the woman across from him feels it in her body before her brain can name it. Women do not think about men who are everywhere. They think about men who are somewhere specific and purposeful and not waiting around to be noticed. That's not manipulation, that's magnetism. And magnetism comes from having a self-worth being drawn to. Now, here is what you do. Right now, today, not next week, not after she responds. Now, you stop checking, you open the app, you close it. and you put the phone face down on a surface that is not near you. Not because you're punishing yourself, because the checking is a compulsion and compulsions run on you and you need to break the loop before it breaks another 6 months of your life. Stop checking. You stop rehearsing. The conversation you're preparing in your head does not exist. She is not sitting somewhere waiting to hear your perfectly crafted explanation of how you feel. Stop. The mistake. Most men make investing emotional energy in a future conversation that you are scripting alone. It is exhausting your nervous system and producing nothing. Stop rehearsing. You redirect the energy every time you feel the pull, and you will feel the pull multiple times a day. At first, you redirect it. You redirect it into your body. You do something physical. You redirect it into your work. You do something productive. You redirect it into your relationships. You call someone who actually picks up. You redirect it into your purpose. You do one thing today that is in service of who you are trying to become. One thing. That's all, one thing. You set a boundary with your own attention. Your attention is the most valuable resource you have. It is more valuable than money. It is more valuable than time. Because attention shapes experience. Whatever you give your attention to becomes your reality. And right now, you are giving your attention, your most valuable resource, to someone who is not in the room. Reclaim it. You get honest with yourself about what you're actually mourning, because sometimes it's not even her. Sometimes you're mourning the version of yourself you thought she represented, the future you imagined, the man you thought you'd become with her beside you. And if that's true, if what hurts is the loss of that future, then understand that the future was always yours. She was just the face you put on it. You can build that future. You just have to stop waiting for someone to hand you permission. You build in silence. This is the part nobody tells you. The rebuilding is quiet. It doesn't have an audience. It doesn't get likes. It's not a montage. It's just you every day making choices that compound. Making choices that slowly, unglamorously, permanently reconstruct your sense of self. And it works not because it's impressive, because it's real. You become the kind of man who is genuinely busy, not fake busy, not performatively busy, actually busy because you have things happening. You have things growing. You have a life. How long should you disappear? That has weight and direction and doesn't pause for anyone who hasn't committed to it. That life is attractive. But more importantly, and this is the part that actually matters, that life is yours. Here is the truth underneath all of this. The reason disappearing makes her think about you has nothing to do with psychology tactics or playing games or knowing how the female brain works. The reason disappearing makes her think about you is because when you disappear, the performance stops, the anxiety stops, the performance of a man who needs her to confirm his value stops. And what's left when all of that falls away is the actual man. And the actual man, the one underneath the desperation, the one who existed before this whole thing started, the one who has a life and a direction and a self that doesn't require her signature to exist. That man is interesting. That man has gravity. That man stays in her mind because he has an interior life that she can't fully access and can't fully predict. Mystery is not a tactic. Mystery is a byproduct of having a rich internal world. Build the internal world. Here is where I need to leave you. You are not a man who is waiting to be chosen. You are a man who has not yet fully chosen himself. That is the only real problem here. Not her, not the timing, not what she said or didn't say or what she posted or who she was with. You choosing you. That is the work. That is the only work that matters right now. You are not broken. You are not behind. You are not too much or not enough. You are a man who was handed some broken maps and followed them as faithfully as you could. And now you're standing somewhere that doesn't look like the destination. And you're trying to figure out how to recalibrate. This is the recalibration. This is the part where you burn the old maps. You are the answer, not her response, not her validation, not her return. You, your final message. Silence is strategic clarity, your direction, your discipline, your presence, your standard, your choice, made today, remade tomorrow, and made again the day after that. To be a man whose life does not orbit anyone else's decision about his worth, that is who you are building. And that man, the one you are becoming, does not need to chase anyone because everything that is supposed to be in his life will find him there, present, grounded, sure of himself, not waiting. Subscribe right now. Every week, I put out content that is designed to cut through the noise and give you the kind of honest, direct, no comfort truth that actually moves men forward. Not hype, not tactics, not manipulation techniques dressed up as confidence advice, real frameworks, real recalibration, real clarity. If you found something in this video that you needed to hear today, there is more where that came from. And some of the most important things I've ever said are sitting in the videos on this channel waiting for you to find them. You are not alone in this. Every man in the comment section of this channel has sat where you're sitting, has felt what you're feeling, has made the choice to come back not to me, not to this channel, but to themselves. This is that community. This is that choice. Welcome back to yourself. Now go build something.